Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are calling in from. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Mindset Show. I'm here with my amazing co host, Brad, and today's conversation is going to be an interesting but an empowering one. And the theme today that we're diving into is really around the freedom in rejecting. So, for us as business owners, saying no can be equally empowering and propel us to move forward rather than hold us back. If you are willing to communicate and share your views, please don't hesitate to do so. If you're watching the replay, thanks for coming back to watch the replay. We will respond to comments in between this conversation. And then lastly, what I'd like to just say to the Instagram followers, unfortunately, Instagram has got a bit of a bug today. I can't seem to get the stream key to go live, but nonetheless, we'll post the link on Instagram for you to watch the replay. So, Brad, where would you like to start on this conversation?
Jeez. Yeah, I think just kicking off from where we spoke before. I mean, we were offline for a while, we were chatting, but I think we were talking earlier about having these reset moments during our day where we actually sit back as SMMEs and really gauge where we're going, even just within the day, and making sure that we are operating on point and that we are achieving our goals. But for me, part of my journey and the journey with the SMMEs that we work with, I have found that part of that is actually understanding the freedom that rejecting brings. Now, that's not you being rejected or me being rejected. It's actually us doing the rejection. And many SMMEs are like, Brad, we can never, ever be in a position to reject work. We're SMMEs, we need work, etc. But we need to understand the power of it and understand the importance of when we can use that card. So if you guys know Uno, you're playing Uno and you have that draw 4 card or that reverse card, you have all these cards in your playbook. The rejecting card is something you need to know the power of it and when to use it. And I feel like we can talk a little bit about that today.
Definitely. I when I wrote the content for today's post, I would like for us to explore possibilities around what are some of those strategies for prioritization and decision making, and how saying no can lead to greater focus and success. What are some of our own personal stories and insights, right? As entrepreneurs and SMMEs ourselves, let's share a bit of our own narrative around this from a lived experience. And then if there's any burning questions from those that are joining us here, please do not hesitate to pose them in the comments. Okay, so maybe we want to start with an actual example where you said no, Brad. You want to start with giving me one such example. You don't have to mention names of a company.
Yeah.
You want to keep that.
You know what? It actually happened. Quite a while ago. We were faced, and I think we shared it in the previous live stream. We were faced with an issue where the client's values really didn't align with ours. So you have, your SLA, if you're offering a service to a client and you're executing on the service, that's kind of one part of your relationship with the client. Shared values becomes quite important. And that can be defined solely by maybe you have a specific religion and your client needs to respect that, or it needs to be, you can set the standard and the client will have their boundaries and you would discuss that and you would kind of iron that out. But when you don't share values with your client, for us, values is respect. We have a very strong sense of respect in our business. So every single person that works across both our agencies, understand the importance of respect. No matter who you are, you will speak to each other with respect. You will treat each other with respect. You'll understand that we're all human, and it goes on and on and on. So when a client of ours comes along and doesn't have that same sense of respect and crosses that boundary, that was where we experienced the freedom of rejecting that client and saying, listen, thank you very much. We're going to end our services with you. Yeah, you are a big client. You are a big part of our business. we are going to feel this financially, but our values are really important to us. And we feel we need to put that boundary in place. We need to build that foundation. And what actually happened, besides the fact that we lost quite a lot of revenue, but what actually happened, the upside, was internally, it enforced our value system. It actually made us sit up and go, whoa, we're prepared to let this amount of money go because we believe we are that important.
Wow.
So I thought that was powerful. And that was something I had never really experienced before, because as an SMME, you just take the work and you eat the nonsense. You know, you get frustrated, you take it out on your teammates. You know, the client's rude to you, you take it out on your family, or you take it out on your friends. But when you take ownership and say, but hang on a sec, I'm going to separate myself from you, that I'm going to pull my brand away from your brand. You can find another agency that has the same value system as you, but for us, that's not acceptable. That for me was so incredibly powerful. So yeah, that happened a few months ago. We're still feeling it. It's been tight. But you know what? That sandwich with peanut butter instead of the Spurs steak is so worth it. It tastes the same. You're just happy, man, that you stood up for your stuff. You feel like it's a victory, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that
yes.
was our experience, and I wrote an article about it. So every quarter we write an article around SMME values, mindset. We share our experiences with the many SMMEs we work with, and our bigger corporate clients. And we write a piece, and then from there we do a podcast, and then we have these live sessions where you and I talk through them. And this was actually included in the article, The Power of No. So if you guys want to go online, find my profile, the article's there, read through it, share your experience. But yeah, it was powerful. Nisa, really powerful stuff.
You've touched on, it's very difficult for entrepreneurs to say no, because there's this hustle culture, and I want to take everything because it's business and it's building on revenue and. But the hustle culture or mindset that we adopt is also linked to a scarcity and lack mindset. What I'm hearing you have successfully navigated through is moving away from that fixed mindset around I have to hustle because I can have more revenue and I can retain this client. And even if it's incongruent with my value system, let me rather keep it, because until maybe I get another client and then I can go to give the boot to this client. That's really the hustle fixed mindset mentality, where we want to hold on to that particular client. Would you then say that this that you've taken on, this stance, is very much moving into a growth mindset? And I see there's a comment from Tabang. Is this where the mustard taste came from? You were tired of the tomato and the sweet chili.
Yeah, absolutely. Tabang. But yeah, I mean, a growth mindset. As an SMME, you tend to drive your business. You are in the driver's seat. But if we can understand the power in relinquishing that position and moving into the passenger side and allowing other entities or other elements to drive your business, that allows you to be an observer rather than an operator. Because when you're an operator in your business, you're so busy operating that you don't have time to have a growth mindset. So it's a chicken and egg. It's a very, very difficult thing to navigate. And when we work with SMMEs, 9 out of 10 times you come into their businesses, they struggle with what you and I struggle. I'm so busy, I don't have time. I'm so busy, I don't have time. But you have to, somewhere along the line, stop and go, I can't. Because if I want to move and grow, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And if you just think about it and you use nature as a way to relate to the scarcity mindset, you look at the animals that survive in the desert space. Now, the desert is the epitome of scarcity, because it's just it's just sand. But there are creatures and organisms that thrive in that space because they don't carry that. They have a survival. They look, they see opportunity. They are just kind of engineered to survive in that space. So as an SMME, when you start on your SMME journey, you've just got to keep that in mind, that if you're going into this saying, oh, I'm operating in an industry where there's very little business and there's so many people want a piece of the pie, you're going in at the wrong mindset. Because that pie doesn't even exist. It's not even a pie, because a pie only has there is an abundance of work. And even when I started the agency 16 years ago, I created my own clients. I actually created my own space in the industry. I didn't realize it then. When I look back now, I can go, crap, I did that. I actually I wiggled in there and created a space for myself. And I started to define what that space looks like. And that has been my journey. So we don't just need to work with the APSs and the MTNs and the blue chip companies to be successful SMMEs. There's so much work out there for us. So that scarcity mindset's very concerning. But to jump across away from that is quite tricky. It takes a lot of sessions and a lot of confidence.
I agree with you on that sentiment. I just before our conversation today, I got off a call with quite a seasoned business executive, and interestingly enough, he was, I'm always looking at, like I think most entrepreneurs should be doing, or SMMEs, is the right collaborative partnerships, right? And that in and of itself is also needing to be values-based and values-aligned. And it's not just, I think I can capitalize on this partnership because if I do become a consultant or an implementation partner, I'm going to kind of generate additional revenue. Sure. The revenue is the one thing that's important for all entrepreneurs, but is it aligned with your vision and your mission? What is that purpose? And is that partnership almost complementary to one another? Because what I said to the guy was, if you're looking for a partnership where it's almost a copy-paste vanilla type person of who you and your partner is, then I'm not your person. Right? Because I want to come with my unique essence in that partnership and not be dictated to say, well, here's what we're actually looking for, and you need to act in a certain way and in a certain role, and with facilitating the information in a certain manner. And whilst there is a core objective for any partnership, right, we mustn't lose our unique essence of what we bring to the partnership. And this is bringing a different angle in. This is an angle of you wanting to grow and scale, and you leveraging collaborative partnerships to do so. But we also have to be quite discerning on who we will have those collaborative partnerships with. Because if you are going to shift who you are to fit the mold within their environment, or vice versa, it's doomed from the start. And so that value system needs to be either agreed or co-created up front on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Because one of the things I said to him right now was, I'd love to collaborate and work alongside you, but if this is what you're expecting, I'm not your person.
Yeah.
If this is what you're willing to accept, then yes, we can partner. So that's just one example, another angle of when to reject an opportunity or an offer or a partnership, other than just saying, I'm rejecting this type of business that I want to sign or do servicing for. We've got to be mindful of who are those partnerships and even who are those suppliers that we work with. You want to maybe add to this a bit more?
Yeah, look, it makes perfect sense to me. And I think, nobody ever really wants to be around the person that's always saying no. So I think we want to make sure that we are clear in, the freedom of rejection is not something you want to experience every day. It is part of your extreme set of experiences. So rejecting someone should be something that you do and consider very carefully. And yes, if it doesn't align with your values. But I believe that a lot of SMMEs, and including myself, I'm not sure about you, Anissa, but a lot of us actually don't really know what our values are. We allow our values to be designed and governed and created by other people. It can be by social media. It can be by, Elon Musk posted this. He talks about his business. Okay, I'm going to adapt those values because I want to be like that. And that is something I speak around a lot in public engagements is what is your success story as an SMME? What do you believe in? What is, what define your values? And even if you believe that your values are maybe quite restrictive in the space that you want to do business, then that's going to help you also decide whether or not your business is going to be a success or failure within that space. But a business owner, it is so strange how it's, how things have evolved. If you look 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, small business ownership was something that people prized. It was something that people, rewarded, the barber down the road, the baker, the butcher. And that can even be seen right up. And then the 50s, 60s started to come along. And then, you started to get these conglomerates, and then it became the malls, and then it became the big chains like Sears and all those big guys. And we sometimes lose the concept that if you wake up in the morning and you are able to operate your business and make it through the day fairly successfully to the next morning, you are a successful business owner, in my eyes, in my view. Because if you start to sit back and go, I want to be a successful business owner, I will only see myself as a successful business owner only once I have that Mercedes in the garage or the 5-roomed house, then you're not going to know the freedom of rejecting, because you're just going to take anything and everything that comes your way. And somewhere in there, you're going to lose your value system. You're going to start to compromise. Whatever values you had are just going to be compromised to the point where you're going to be 15 years in business and suddenly you're going to suffer business fatigue, where it's like, I'm done with this because I'm tired of this and I'm tired of that. But if you have established your values and you know your success story as a business owner, and you work through that religiously every day and see yourself as a successful person and you're growing, you will be able to operate your business through generations if it needs to be, as long as you can transition that information across to the different generations. But you will have a business that can walk that journey. And that has been my personal experience. The amount of times I've suffered from that fatigue. And it's like, why? Why am I doing this? I'll just quit everything and go and live under a bridge. Because honestly, it probably would be more fun in retrospect. But at the end of the day, you sit back and go, but hang on a sec, what were my founding values? What is my success story? What do I stand for? Why am I doing this? What is the why? And I think that really helps. And then you can start experiencing the freedom when you need to reject.
It's beautiful. It's almost poetic the way you've described it right now for me, because if we see values as our North Star, our guiding North Star, and our truth, it's not so much about rejection. I told my daughter when she wasn't accepted in any of the public high schools that she aspired to go to, I said, nothing is a rejection, it's a redirection. And rejection can come across as quite a harsh word. But if we change the language, it takes on a different life and energy of its own. And why I say it's quite poetic to me, the way you described all of this in terms of the success story. I love that, because it's almost going and building a business with affirming that it will have the desired success. It's walking around with that conviction and affirmation. And so when we're saying no, we could also mean and imply no, not now.
Mm.
When we're saying rejecting, we could also be implying, let's redirect where we could take this partnership to. Maybe
Mm.
why we're speaking now is not this, which we originally intended to. Or
Mm.
whilst we thought this service or product or whatever extension of that exchange between yourselves might have been, that is maybe not values aligned, but could we curiously explore maybe other possibilities of a partnership?
Mm.
Your
I like that.
example of early on is very different and unique. There you have to take almost a blameless discernment and say, no, that's
Mm.
an almost a explicit thank you, gratitude for the contributions to our business and our growth, gratitude for the lessons learned along the way, because that's also bringing value. It's not necessarily also closing the door indefinitely, but it's
Mm.
teaching that company or individual that you dealt with is that this is where there's a drawing of the line, because
Yeah.
if you're not going to draw the line, you're no longer in that truth. You're no
Yeah.
longer leading with conviction of the why you originally started to deliver impact on your service, impact on your product, impact on the
Mm.
partnership, whatever the context might be.
Yeah. I love that. I think that that's such a nice way to put it. And yeah, I feel like rejecting might be a bit of a strong term, but I think for driving the messaging, I think it was applicable for that space. But it does take different forms. And I think it is important. But I think sometimes we have to be assertive. And again, as SMMEs, we feel we have to be cap in hand because it is quite tricky to close business. If you don't have a very strong business strategy, it centers around sales and marketing and using those tools efficiently, you are going to struggle to close business. So when a business does come along, you feel like you have to over deliver because you don't want to lose the client. And the thing is, the client will pick up on that, and then there's room for abuse of contract. Then there's a room for disappointment. But I feel like it's not arrogance. Somebody said to me, yeah, but now what are you doing? You're advocating arrogance. And I was like, no, I'm advocating confidence in what you do. Arrogance is when you don't see the gift in what has been given to you. But we do as SMMEs. When we get the work, we receive it with gratitude. I might not say that, but we do, because we take that money ourselves and we use that money to maintain our lives, to pay our kids' school fees, to put food on the table, to buy our vehicles, to finance our lifestyles, to pay our staff. We do receive it with gratitude. When a deposit comes into your account as an SMME, how do you feel? You feel so powerful and so strong. So if you are
Exactly.
going into this entire relationship and it's skewed, now the balance is that you are two businesses doing work with each other, or you have a customer and you have offered a service or a product. You're selling that product to a customer. There's no skewed relationship there. It's one to the other. But the problem is SMMEs, specifically in South Africa and Africa, is because sometimes we don't have an education backing us, that we feel we're not worthy for that sale, or we feel we are not worthy for that contract. But even if you are selling your fed cook on the side of the road that you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make, under very difficult circumstances, and I get out my X5 and I go and buy that thing, that fed cook from you because it's really awesome. We are equal. We are equal. And when that starts to skew is where the problems come in. And that's when the rejection of freedom will play. Because you don't want to be aligned to that kind of relationship. You want to, as a SMME and even as a human being, want to enter into every business transaction as an equal. Because that is when you are in your essence. That is when you are focused on your work and you want to deliver and you want to do your best. Because you're not coming in at, I'm better than you, or I'm worse than you. You're coming in as an equal. And that gives you the space and the freedom to execute your skill and your passion. And that is what is important for us. And we forget about it all the time. How often, I mean, we went to 2 different banks. We've got 3 businesses running at the moment. We went to 2 different banks for the 2 new businesses we created, right? The one bank, we opened our bank account within 1 hour. Opened, received a temporary card, we could walk away. The other bank took 2 weeks. So where is that equal? Where is that equal? How is that seen as an equal relationship? Because now I'm already begging for my account. And unfortunately, we had to use that bank because it's aligned to one of our programs. So, you ask yourself this question, is that is not an equal relationship. And we have had one problem after the other, after the other, after the other. And that is why sometimes the hardness of rejection is necessary, because it frees you to stay within your essence as an SMME and do what you're good at. And that is my opinion across that.
I'm going to come back to you on that. I just want to read one of the comments. Khadija, nice to have you on here, by the way. I met Khadija a couple of years ago at an event, at the Sarah Rewards event, and what a beautiful soul to have connected with. She has just embarked on the brave journey of leaving corporate and to go and start her own business. And she says, as someone starting out my coaching business, these are such good insights. So thank you for that feedback. And she goes on to say, what are my values? What determines success for me? And I think that's it's so powerful and underestimated to think with that end in mind, knowing that that becomes also a guiding post for us to work towards. I want to come back to your comment earlier on and really just build on that. How are we serving? I almost get the sense this bank story is about serving, and it's about solving a pain point, a problem, and solving it in a way that is mutually beneficial for both, and having a lot of evidence to support that it's been done before, and almost is at this point of they don't need to prove the credibility in the market anymore, right? So the same for SMMEs. We mustn't think that that's the corporates and they've got big budgets to spend on PR and advertising and campaigns, etc. For us as SMMEs is being in our truth again, is knowing our worth, knowing our value, knowing how we are serving out there. And that will give you some level of autonomy and empowerment, rather, to be able to say no. Until you know who you're serving, what you're solving, where's the evidence of you having done that, you're going to just say yes to everything. And we can't be everything to everyone. And again, I want to bring your experience back again. You had that relationship. And at the start of that conversation and that relationship, it might have been a good fit to work with one another. But we also need to evolve in our businesses. And so whilst we're at the point of that partnership or relationship, and there was potentially values alignment, because you wouldn't have done business with them if there wasn't initially. But as you're growing and wanting to serve and drive more significant impact as an SMME, there comes a point too where you now got to walk away from relationships that were a fit in the past, but are no longer now, even at the cost of losing revenue and potential other word of mouth business that could have come from an entrenched relationship that one has already had. Because acquisition is harder. Sorry, I should actually say it's both is quite hard, But to acquire a customer, we go through quite a great lengths, and it's costly in terms of investment of time, effort, etc. So retention of that customer is generally it's pivotal to the success and sustainability of our livelihood, of our business. And so where I'm leading with this point is one's got to be very clear, not just on the success story, but that level of service and impact that we want to make. And if that service and impact is misaligned, absolutely, I would say from my point, you've got to walk away.
Well, very true. No, 100%. I mean, it's kind of like a classroom scenario when you get, when you're in a classroom and you write an exam and you all get the same exam. You all have the same lead times, you all have the same textbooks, but some of us get 80%, some of us get 40%, some of us don't care. Some of us tear out the page of the exam and thing and roll it and spit it on the roof. Some of us don't pitch for class. You just see it when I'm sure you get it as well, Nisa, and the lady that's going to be venturing into the mentoring will experience it. You get different types of SMEs that are coming from different backgrounds. But a value system, I believe, is that one golden thread that just pulls through society. And, you just need to, it's quite amazing. And a good example is when you go to Cape Town. Everybody talks about how amazing Cape Town is run and how pretty it is. And it looks like a first world country and, et cetera, et cetera. And there you almost see the value system that is being created there. It's not really ripened yet, but there's this value system being created in Cape Town, this culture, this string that pulls through every form of society there, right? Where in Joburg, it's still a little bit dysfunctional, a little bit disjointed. The same as when you run a business, when you write your success story and say, success means this for me, therefore I need to structure my business in the following way, and you move into the business strategy and then into your revenue and sales, etc. That value system strings through. You might use different language, etc. So when you get to land a client and you're executing the work of the client on behalf of the client, or you selling that product to the client, or whatever you're doing, making the meal for the guy that's come into your restaurant, you inadvertently will retain that person if your value systems are aligned. And if you have a very strong value system and a great success story and a good strategy, you will produce good work. That's the formula. But if you're coming in and you're a chef of a restaurant and you open up your restaurant and your guests come in and you arrive late, you put any sort of ingredients, you buy bad meat, or your ingredients are not great quality, but you're charging big prices because you believe you're worth X amount, there's no alignment there. You can't expect success out of that. So if you as an SMME, when you take your family, when you get paid, on the rare occasion for some SMMEs, and you get paid on time and you shoot off to go and spoil your kids, and you go to a McDonald's drive-thru and the kids are excited and everyone's happy, and they give you your McFlurry and it's half full, how do you feel? You'll be disappointed.
I'd be livid.
Yeah, your expectation hasn't been met. But yet you go to a meeting and you arrive a half an hour late. How does the client feel? So it's just this thing about get your house in order, that write your success story. What does success mean for you? What is your value system? Nobody has a value system that says, I will be half an hour late for my meetings. I will smell like alcohol. I've had that. I will drive recklessly on the road. Nobody has those value systems, yet they do it, but it's not their value system. But when you define your value system according to your beliefs, your history, where you want to move, what you want to put onto your children, and you incorporate that into your business structure via a vision and a mission and a great communication channel or process, you will then see the results of that immediately in the quality of your work. And also your team. Your team will resonate. Nobody wants to work with a boss that just doesn't have his house in order. Nobody wants to. You can pick it up immediately. So we as SMMEs, we have a lot of work to do. We've got to pull our socks up and we've really got to go out there and live up to the expectation. And the expectation from fellow SMMEs is that, we live by a sense of code. But at the moment, it's not really happening in that space. It's quite crazy.
Now, with people like Khadija that's starting out in their business, I mean, like you said, these are some lovely golden nuggets that you're sharing, Brad. What are some other strategies for prioritization and decision making? What would you bring into that?
Okay, so look, money talks. So I know that I've just gone on this whole thing about having, great, having your values and everything, but money does talk. So you need to be very clear when you start a business, what is your financial expectation? So once you've drawn up your success story, which is in the form of an actual story, you telling the world what success means for you, and you can be as detailed as you want, or you can be as short as you want. It's up to you. You then go in and say, right, if that is my success story, my business needs to deliver on that, because if it doesn't deliver on that, that's going to affect how I feel about my own business. Once you've created that, that's going to guide you on what kind of revenue you're looking for. That's also going to help you to figure out, with the solution you're coming to the market, very important, every single one of us have problems and issues that brands solve for us on a daily basis, right? I need to get from A to B safely. I'm worried about my family. Volvo solved that for us. I need something that's reliable. I can drive it and spend a lot of money. Toyota came along and solved that problem for us. I'm hungry. I need a quick meal. McDonald's solved that problem for us. What are you solving? Even as a coach, what is the problem that you are solving? Because your customer or your client will have a problem, will have something that you're coming along and saying, hey, man, listen, this is one of the problems that you have. I can see it. I see you. This is the solution I'm bringing forward. This is my value system. This is how my company runs. Can we work together? So I think it's very important to understand that in order to find out the revenue, which is key for your business, you need to have those pre-items indexed already, which is your success story, your revenue model, your sales, et cetera, and most importantly, what problem are you solving? Simple. And then,
I'm aligned to that. I'm aligned to that, Brad. Sorry, you want to carry on?
No. I know it's going on and on, but I was also going to say the great way to test that is to, once you have created your branding and your communication that you're taking to market, is go around your local shopping center and say, hi, this is my business. This is what I do. This is my marketing material. What problem do you think I'm solving? And that's a great way to go. Yeah, we underestimate the power of the mall. It's a great research place. Don't ever come to my mall because I'll probably ask you 100 questions. But yeah, it's a great place to engage.
I'm going to respond to that now. But I see they just put another comment here. I found it really scary trying to close business until I realized exactly this. There is value that I offer, and that value has a cost. And I am worth the cost. And I like that she's putting capital letters, I am. Because there's that affirmation of I am. So when we're not running around with feeling like an imposter or not feeling worthy of, we will not reject anything. That's the hustle, scarcity mentality that I alluded to earlier on. But when you are clear in who you are and the value that you bring, that will alchemize into, in any event, you being able to discern when is it no, not now, or I have to reject this because it's not aligned. What I want to bring in response to what you said earlier on, I like that, there's a guy that I'm busy dealing with at the moment that I'm exploring to also work with. And I like his approach and style. And he says, I'm not sure. I have to also be very clear that if I'm going to work with whoever that might be in their business, that they are fit for my business too. And as coaches, we also do that. I mean, and I'm sure you do too. We have that chemistry conversation at the start, and we say, let's establish if there is chemistry. Because if there isn't that chemistry, we're already starting off on a not so great footing. But what's even more of a gem is that we will explore what is the service and the impact, and very clear to say, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve? And emotively tell the story on what I'm trying to solve, and then giving some evidence. So I almost feel that it's a two-way exchange on when somebody is giving you business or granting you that business. You need to also kind of make sure that the chemistry is there, and that service that you're solving for them, or that problem that you're solving, is that it's going to be continued on that momentum. Because therein lies the problem as well. We're not necessarily solving the problem or the right problem for the customer, and that can cause tension in that relationship. So why I enjoyed what you were saying there is because if we upfront can understand that, then it's a sustainable long-term partnership that could really grow and scale together with one another. You as an SMME solving this problem, and as you solve a different application of that problem or different problems for this client, you're growing together. But if there comes a time that you were able to solve a problem in the beginning, and somewhere along the line there's no more a fit, they now moving on, they've maybe grown and scaled, and you're still sitting with that particular viewpoint. You must also have the conviction as an SMME then to say, you know what, I cannot solve your problem. That's the case in point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that's, it's perfect. I mean, you just have to look at Kodak to know that customers are not forever. And you evolve, your customer evolves, your business evolves. Oh, that is the amazing thing about being an SMME. It's so awesome. You can just shift and you're adaptable, and it's like there's no board meeting, or unless you're the top end of an SMME space. But I think 100%. I think what you said is 100%. The only thing is based on the earlier comment around, I fear the closing of the business, is because we actually fear rejection. So yes, you've typed out, I am worth it. But if you're still fearing the close, or to close the business because you don't want the no, or you're kind of expecting the no, you have to deal with that trigger, because you're going to get triggered regularly. And it's nobody wants to hear the word no. But if you're pitching a client and the client says, listen, thank you, we've considered your proposal. No, thank you, you're not a fit for us. It's actually quite nice. It's quite rewarding, because okay, great, that's not the client that we are going to work with. And they've seen that we don't align, and that saved us a lot of heartache. So, don't be put off by those kinds of rejections that you get. And if a client does say, listen, thank you very much, we don't want to work with you, if the opportunity arises, talk to them, say to them, what was it that put you off, or what was it that you felt you couldn't work with me? But another thing I learned from a very good friend of mine who heads up an agency here is that you have a skill that you're perfecting, and if you've been in business for a long time, have perfected. And if that skill allows you to do something for 15 minutes, but you're billing clients the standard industry hour that it would traditionally take, but because your skill set and your ability that you have harnessed and worked on and invested in allows you to spend 15 minutes doing the same standard of work, if not better, then your client needs to pay you for that hour. Because that is where you as an SMME hold a lot of good value, and an opportunity to really improve your profits is because you have harnessed the powers, you have experienced everything, you have perfected your abilities, and then you bill accordingly. And we're busy learning this lesson now in our businesses, is to stand up for our rate and what it means. And sometimes we are negotiable because life happens and we need the revenue, or we want to work with that particular brand, so we will make an effort. But our time is our time, and time is relative to our experience. So you need to pay that.
That's such a pertinent point to raise here, because I've often said no to business if it wasn't at the rate that I have put out into the market. I'm willing to negotiate on the rate if I see there's a level of commitment in that exchange of that partnership. And you'll notice I use the word partnership because I believe it is a partnership, whether it is with a coaching partner, whether it is with a corporate, there's some sort of shared partnership there, right? So I've walked away. Now, as a single mom of 3 and being a primary provider, it's not easy to walk away. Because you do want that extra money. You've got 3 growing kids, all with different needs, and they need to be taken care of. I need to be taken care of with my own needs, right?
Yeah.
And so when you also in a situation of being you, yourself, and you having to do it all, there could be blurred lines of saying no. Because again, you're coming in from a different state. But when you know your worth and you've paid your school fees and you've paid your dues, walking away is often more empowering, and they may very well come back to buy at a later stage. So I've had to walk away from a corporate, and this was an executive, and it was like I gave my rates, and this executive said, okay, no, not now. I can't actually manage it. And I said, you know what? When you're ready, you may come back.
Doors always open.
I could have bailed in that moment and said, you know what would be affordable to you? But I knew the value of my service and how I'm solving that particular person's pain point. And if they could not see that value in that exchange, then that partnership is already not going to be a good chemistry, a good connection. Because imagine what then happens is that we start off with negotiating better rates, and what are they going to think about me? How do I see my worth? Right?
But did you make up that revenue somewhere else?
You manifest it. I feel that when we are not attached as entrepreneurs or SMMEs to an outcome of almost attracting that business, when we're coming in, like Khadija says, I love that point that she made there around, she said, there is value that I offer and the value has a cost, and I am worth that cost. When you're in that energetic vibration of knowing that and feeling that and bringing and relaying that across when you're having those negotiations or discussions, you're going to, in any event, you close the one door and it opens up several other doors. So you might have lost that particular revenue, but it does come back in other shapes or forms. But the key and the essence for me personally, I'm not sure you, Brad, or any of the other SMEs, a strategy that I've adopted is to have non-attachment to an outcome. Having no expectations and just going in with knowing who I am, my value proposition as an individual and as a brand, and the impact that I will leave, and that I have more than enough evidence out there, social proof to support the work that I'm doing. I don't need to feel like I need to justify why you must do work with me or almost sell it to you, because then that's no more partnership. This is me pitching and selling to you. And if you really want to work with me, you're going to see the social proof of my work. So that's just me, Brad. I don't know about you, but
no, I get it. Yeah, I had this very interesting experience. I was with a yogi in Pretoria who said, if you don't have expectation for the day, you'll never be disappointed. And I kind of
I
like
like
went, oh,
that.
that makes, yeah, that was quite powerful. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense for me right now. And I tried it. I tried it for a while because I'm Capricorn. Of course, we have expectation, but I tried it for a while, and it really actually works that happens. But I was thinking through something that you spoke about earlier, and I wanted to raise this. It's amazing when people know their worth and they're prepared to put everything on the line for that, whether we resonate
Mm-hmm.
with them or not. It's quite fascinating how the reaction from the public or the reaction from the others is to bring that person down. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is, obviously we all know that Elon Musk got a huge payout, and the comments were so incredibly negative on social media around that, about these CEOs earning extravagant salaries. And yes, it is not equal. And yes, I totally understand the concept of equality, but kudos to them for knowing their worth and pulling it off. They
True.
pulled it off.
Oops, so sorry.
They got people to, vote for that salary. I mean, they just didn't make a decision on their own. They got people to vote for it. So I think knowing your worth is really important. It's powerful. And again, it goes back to your success story. Like, I know my worth, but my success story is not aligned to, for example, Elon Musk. I have a much more watered down success story that I actually currently am living. And I'm so privileged to
Yeah.
be in that space that it's, and it's like I live in consistent abundance. But if somebody walks into my life, they're like, is this abundance? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in abundance. So I think your success story is powerful because
Yes.
it gives you that freedom to reject. It gives you that freedom to walk past. I keep using car analogies because as South Africans, we're so car obsessed. It gives you that freedom to walk past an expensive vehicle, or you just have to go to Hout Bay and you just see one after the other. And everyone's like, wow, wow, wow. But for me, that's not my success story. I don't relate. That's yours and well done, but that's not mine. And I don't need to have to be part of that experience. Thanks very much. Because it gives you freedom. So rejecting is not just about rejecting a client, but it's also rejecting what society tells you an SMME should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this issue on a consistent basis. I mean, I am considered a mentor. I go in and mentor other businesses and I help other businesses. But I run it. I am an SMME myself. Okay, we have a few businesses running, but I am an SMME and I never want to be anything else. And there are days when, we have cash flow issues, and there are days that those things happen to us. But people come and say, oh, look at the other big guys out there, and they're global speakers, and they drive these Rolls Royces and whatever. And you rock up in your Toyota. And I'm like, but dude, that's not my success story. If I could afford it if I wanted to, but it's not my success story. So the power lies in knowing what success means for you and rejecting what society tells you success should be. Stay away from these social media posts that show people traveling the world and making millions and driving Maseratis, because there's always a story behind it. They have paid a price for that. And if you define your success story and you define your value system, I can guarantee you, once you have done that, you will not be prepared to pay the price to have that lifestyle, because it comes at a price.
So on that note of rejection, right? On that note, there is some comments that have streamed in. Hello, Sham. Nice to have you here. Sham said, where's that comment? Some of the comments come through and some of them don't for some reason. But he was rejecting that idea of what your yogi was saying. And I want to see if it's coming through here again. I saw it on the headline. In any event, I'll find it again. But here's some more comments of him. And he says, it's about relationship. Never do toxic relationships in business, no matter the need. If you both don't want win-win for each other, it's a short-sighted relationship for you both. On the flip side, knowing which clients to say no to can actually help grow your business, which is the point of today's conversation, right? And then he says, cost is indeed a race to the bottom. However, if you can engage with your client and negotiate a strategic relationship or deal in return for a small discount, then it can be worth it. I concur. I concur. I did this probably once, not once, and they ended up being a huge customer down the line. Very valid
Nice.
point there, and we won't disregard that. I don't know where the yogi comment disappeared to, but he made a remark to say he disagrees with that yogi comment. And he also
That's
says, in
cool.
my opinion, our problem is our vocab, namely find and replace the word failure with learning.
Yeah, I
Some
love
lovely
that.
comments there.
Yeah, man, it's so nice because I was chatting to a person there that asked me, what did they say? How many times did you, they didn't say your business failed. They said, how many times did you, something along the line of what Sham was saying. I was like, that's such a cool way to put it. It's just so cool because it was this concept that there is no such thing as failure.
Yes.
But again, it's the societal. We can get so deep into this conversation, but I don't know about anyone else that's listening in today or how you feel, Anissa. But if you go into Instagram lately, it's just you get, I don't know if you get depressed or you get happy. It's such a mixed bag of emotions because you feel like society has kind of lost the plot of why we actually inhabit this space. We are here to learn. We are here to grow. We are here to share. And none of us, no one, we are all equal, regardless of what space we occupy. We are all equal. And yet society is so insistent on putting us into hierarchies and putting us into classes and defining, and it messes us up as SMMEs because it plays around with our
Yeah.
mindset. I think what Sham's saying is so
Yeah.
nice. What I do love is what you guys need to know is this is Brad and Anissa having a chat around our experiences. But we learn so much from these comments. I mean, the discount thing, yeah, of course. If you can negotiate a discount, Sham, and you still feel positive about that relationship, and it became a great client for you, that is such a beautiful lesson. Thank you so much. I'm sure people will benefit from that. So yeah, please keep sending the comments in and joining us. Engage. I mean, we always
Shan,
please learn.
I found that comment. He says, not sure I agree with that yogi. It's like saying if you never try, you'll never lose.
Oh, yeah, that's actually quite true, right? Yeah, that's actually quite
It's
true.
very true.
That's quite true.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's sort of a wrap for all the comments. I have acknowledged everyone's comments. Thank you for participating in this conversation. And yes, it's our experience. And I want to close off in terms of the earlier points around the thief of comparison. Your journey is your journey. And so I concur with you, Brad, is that we started this segment to have a real raw conversation about the journey, the good, the bad, the down, outright ugly. When we don't say no, it's also because we have our own insecurities and feelings of imposter syndrome or whatever comes with that, or we don't even know our values or our sort of mission or purpose. So for me, I'd like to close off with saying is that as an SMME, do not compare yourself to somebody else's growth. As Brad have said, know your purpose, know your why, and know who you're serving and why you're serving them. And yes, I would go with Sham's point around when you know this is a long-term partnership for the greater good of that shared vision of impacting humanity. I mean, Sham's got the most beautiful mission is to impact, I think it was 1 billion people by a certain time, by 2030 in his
Wow,
line of
that's
work.
awesome.
It's an audacious vision, but he knows explicitly what that success story looks like. And so
Yeah.
if you have to go in and negotiate and work alongside people that can help you get there and give a little bit of discount, Absolutely. It makes absolute sense to do so. So on
Yeah.
that note, I want to thank you, Brad, for always bringing your energy, your passion, your deep insights and learnings and humbleness and your humility to this conversation. I always enjoy it because you just bring it as you are, not what society or social media dictates we're supposed to be on this segments. Thank you to everyone that's here. I'm going to hand over to Brad to just give his last remarks.
Hey, thank you, Gerard, and thank you for joining. Yeah, no, absolutely. All I can say is just such gratitude to you, Anissa, because we are still starting out this journey of sharing content and taking these 17 years that we have been working on this brand and putting it into social spaces. And this is a very big part of that journey. So our audience is growing, and I show absolute gratitude for you, and just thank you for the platform. And yeah, big things are coming, man. That's all I really can say. And I love these discussions. And it's interesting how people engage afterwards. I've got some people messaging me here. So it's awesome. Just gratitude. That's all. Pure gratitude.
And on that note, gratitude is moving forward with grace. So don't forget to give yourselves grace as SMMEs in the journey of the tough times during saying no or rejections. I want to thank you again, and I'm going to close off. But Brad, we say for a short debrief afterwards, so I'm going to end
Of
this
course.
live. Thank you for your comment, Gerard. We appreciate that.